In this video we're going to be looking at development planning for a career in business. Now briefly, to see what we're going to do, let's look at the learning outcomes. By the end of the lesson you should be able to explain what a skill audit is, a skill gap, a qualification gap, and a qualification map. So it's important to be familiar with these terms, and this is one of the objectives of this class. You should also be able to audit your own skill and identify any skill gap that you may have. So it's not just looking at it in the abstract, we should be able to apply it to ourselves. And finally, we should be able to describe our personal skills and determine the skills necessary for your chosen career. So look at each of us individually and critically and say, what skills have we got? What do we need? What do we need to get the career that we desire? So let's start, and we'll talk about the terms that we're going to use. First of all, it's wise in classes like this to contact your group and get some discussion in the group about the terms, and ask members of the group to do some research. It might be online research or research into magazines, professional magazines, or press, or articles in the press, or textbooks. But ask members of your group to do some research, and you conduct some research and try to work out the meaning of the various terms and what's associated with the main terms. What's required when undertaking a skills audit, for example? What is a qualification gap, and how important is it? And make some notes so individually within the group, and then share them collectively. So first of all, determine what is a skill gap, and conduct an audit into your own skills, let's say, and see what skills you've got in terms of, say, your communication skills, your numeracy skills, your computing skills. So list out all the skills you think you've got which are good skills for the labour market, and then look at the type of career that you want and see where you're short. Look at the difference between the two. So the skills gap is what we're really trying to resolve here. Part of the skills gap could be to look at qualifications. Sometimes employers simply say, we want an employee with the following qualifications. They don't itemize what skills, they say what qualifications, because they know that a person who has that qualification must have those skills, because the skills were required in order to pass the qualification. So look at the qualification gap. What have you got in terms of qualifications and what is required? And then look at the qualification map, and we'll talk about that towards the end. But right now let's start with the skill audit. Now, the skill audit can help you to identify your existing skills and identify what skills you may need to carry out your existing work. So at the most basic level, it appraises your existing skills. It looks at your existing skills, your capacity to work efficiently and effectively within the work environment in which you find yourself. So looking at your skills and then looking at what can be done to improve your skills, so you can identify improvement areas. So you can plan and develop and improve skills and knowledge needed for your future career. It may be that you want to move job later and you're going to need extra skills to do that. Well, this can identify those. Now, carrying out a skill audit. Well, carrying out a skill audit is a 5-stage process. At least we've picked 5 stages in this class. Most textbooks tend to go with a 5-stage process, but you will find some that vary this. But I think we will stick with the more traditional, the more orthodox way of doing it. So the first stage is existing skills and knowledge identification. Check what are the existing skills and knowledge. Now that may be done by performing a detailed skills audit, which may involve an interview, some sort of diagnostic testing. It can involve a whole range of activities to try and find out exactly what are the current skill levels. Then look to see what future skills and knowledge are required, because it's adjusting the existing skill level to the future one that is the problem. That's the issue. The issue is making sure that the staff who have a current set of skills will be equipped to deal with future tasks. And then rating your ability, asking if it's realistic, the assessment, if the questions were realistic, if the questions were fair, if the outcome of the skills audit was realistic in itself. Was it a good activity? Did it give an accurate picture of your skills? And review your ability ratings. As a part of the skills audit, your abilities may have been rated. Sometimes a scale of 0 to 4 is used, where 0 is no skill, none whatever, and 4 is an expert. Well, 1 is not too good, 2 is just about acceptable, 3 is good, and 4 is excellent. So looking at the ratings. Let's talk about the ratings in a little bit more detail. Once you've identified your current skills, you need to rate your current skills against each other. You see, it's not just good enough to say that you've got numeracy skills, because what does that mean? Does it mean you can add 2 numbers together? Or does it mean you can do higher mathematics and solve complex equations? So numeracy skills doesn't tell us anything. Good communication skills doesn't really tell us anything. It tells us, on the one hand, you're able to speak and make some comments which are understood. But it doesn't mean you're able to present in a very polished manner. Some business presentation. You're not a polished presenter, let's say. So it's important to rate the skills to find out what competency the person has with each skill. And as I said, it's normally done on a scale of 0 to 4, as shown here. So 0, for example, as I said earlier, would be no knowledge whatever. 1, there's some awareness, but not sufficiently competent to use it. So just some awareness of the issue or of the skill, but can't use the skill. 2 would be familiar with and able to use the knowledge or skill. So 2, the person can use this skill, whatever the skill is. If there's a required degree of mathematics, a required amount of mathematics or numeracy required in a particular job, and the person is capable of performing that numerical task, then that's a 2. So if the person was required to calculate percentages or work out discounts or whatever, if they're able to do it, then they are doing the job. They have the skills, so it's a 2. 3 is proficient in the knowledge or skill and able to show others how to use it. It's a high level of competency. So with a 3 rating, the individual is able to teach others how to do it as well. So they are so confident that they are able to teach others. And 4, as I said earlier as well, 4 is the expert. That's a high degree of skill, complete mastery of what is required. Now, reviewing skill ratings, which we called stage 4 earlier in the 5 stages. This involves asking a friend or a supervisor or tutor to review your list and give constructive feedback. If you have rated your own skills on the 0 to 4 scale, were you being generous or were you being too harsh? So it's good to have an independent evaluation, someone outside who will make comments about your skills. The final stage, stage 5, is the future development plan. It's simply that of using the information to concentrate on developing the skill and knowledge areas where you have low scores or identified or have identified that you are not fully competent. So it's a question of taking remedial action in the case of low scores, where there's a very low competency level with a particular skill. The individual may want to strengthen that by taking on extra training or seeking extra help. Now, the skill gap. Well, the skills that you do not yet possess will be identified in your skills audit. This is otherwise known as the skills gap. So it's the skills that you don't have, the skills that would be good to have, skills that would enable you to get a better career, or move on in the job, or seek promotion, or simply the skills that would enable you to be more efficient at the work. So it's a two-edged thing. One is the individual would want to have better skills for career purposes, and the other one is the company wants the workers to have better skills because the workers will be more productive. So two sides here benefit from increased skill levels. But the difference between what exists and what is ideally required is the skill gap. The qualifications gap, well, this refers to detailed lists of all the qualifications that you do not currently have. It looks at all the qualifications that you don't have, but qualifications that you need in order to achieve your short and medium-term career goals. So it's a question of looking at your existing set of qualifications, what you've got at school, college, university, wherever, and looking at what the market requires in terms of qualifications, and the difference is the qualifications gap, which needs to be plugged. It may mean taking on part-time education, looking at improving education to get the extra qualifications to enable you to apply for the jobs that you want. The qualification gap, well, this is a plan for how you are going to fill your qualifications gap. So having got a qualifications gap, having observed that the jobs require, let's say, graduate status and you're not a graduate, then how are you going to do it? Well, first of all, you might decide on doing a diploma and then turn the diploma into a degree. But how do you finance this, and what's the best way of doing it? And can you study independently? Could you study online? Can you study in a local college? What do you want to do, and how are you going to do it? That is the qualifications gap. Now I should say the qualifications map. That's how it's going to be implemented. It's a smart written statement of action plan of how you're going to fill your qualifications gap. So the qualification map is a smart document. Smart is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant and time-bound, and it's one that crops up right across the study of business and one you'll be familiar with from other modules. But essentially a qualifications map should be specific. It should say exactly how you're going to get the extra qualifications you require, and you're going to do it in a certain time frame, so it's measurable and it can be done. It's achievable, and the qualifications you're getting are going to be relevant. They're the right ones, and as I said, it's time bound. It can be done in a particular time period. Now, completion of the skills audit. Well, that's one possibility. I'm not going to read my way through this. You can stop the video and make notes here, but it may be we take two skills here: communications and literary skills and team working skills, and the person will write out what achievements they've had that would illustrate those skills and what they've managed to do, both in employment and outside of employment. And this could relate to, as I said, qualifications, to college courses, or it could be on-the-job training, or it could be past achievements which illustrate these types of skill. And there are other types: organization, independent learning skills, computing, numerical skills, research and problem solving skills. And it's important to make a list of the achievements you've had in looking at each of these skills. Have you got good computing skills? Can you use, say, Microsoft Office or one of the other Office suites? Word processing, Excel, spreadsheets, databases, whatever you've got. Can you develop websites? What computing skills have you got? List them out and give illustrations of them. Don't just say that you can do it, prove you can do it. So this would be a type of skill audit that you may want to conduct on yourself. It will also be quite a good exercise because it is a good preparation for writing a detailed curriculum vitae later. But that's all I'm going to do in this session. I'm going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.